recording this so that we can post it in the group. So I am Jen Wilson from iamjenwilson.com, here to take you through your yoga session. Everything that I am inviting you to do through this session is purely an invitation. So anything that doesn't feel right in your body, you can completely ignore and do something else that feels right in your body. And that's something I encourage through all the classes that I teach. So really, your body is the most intelligent thing, way more intelligent than your mind, way more intelligent than my mind. So really use this as an opportunity to tune in and listen. And then what the hope is that over time, the more we practice tuning into our bodies within a yoga session or whatever kind of fitness class you're doing, is that you then start to hear your body more frequently in everyday life so that you can respond to it rather than ignore signals that it's sending and then wait until you've got chronic pain or chronic illness or an injury. The first thing we're going to do is bring ourselves into a comfortable seated position. Now, what we want to do is have our spine sitting in its natural curves. So the lower back will have whatever its natural curve is. If you're tight and the hips are tight in the lower back, you might want to get a cushion to sit on so that your hips can be a little bit more elevated. And you can have your legs crossed if you wish, or you can have your legs straight out in front of you. You could be sitting in a chair. You could be kneeling so that you're on your shins. You could be sitting with your back against the wall. So just be in whatever a comfortable space is that you can sit tall and you don't feel any pressure or tension in around the lower back or in around the hips. We're going to let the chin drop down very slightly. We're going to bring one hand onto our chest around the area of your heart. So left hand might be easier for you to get to that space, just because the heart sits slightly to the left. And if you're okay to close your eyes, close your eyes. And if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, just allow your gaze to drop down to the floor to try and eliminate as many distractions around about as you can. And start to notice your body. Notice how it's connecting into whatever surface it is that you're sitting on. Without changing your breath, start to notice what your natural breathing pattern is. So notice, are you breathing naturally through the mouth, through the nose? Do you breathe just into the top of the chest, or do you breathe down into the belly? Do you breathe into your back? And if you are breathing through your mouth, is it comfortable for you to close your mouth and allow the breath to come in and out through the nose? Remembering that these are invitations, so if that just doesn't work for you today, then do what feels right for you today. But where we can breathe through the nose, it's more beneficial. Breathing through the nose allows us to filter the air better through that system that we have that is for cleansing the air. It moisturizes, it warms. When we breathe through the mouth, it just takes those gulps of air down and they can go into the lungs a lot faster, but not necessarily a lot more useful. And when we start to breathe through the nose, it can help us slow the breath down, allowing that breath to go down and deeper into the lungs. Starting to notice the pace of your breath. Sometimes when we bring our attention to the breath, it allows us to slow the breath down slightly. Notice underneath your hand any textures, any sensations of movement, any temperature, maybe vibration you feel under this hand that's resting on your chest. After the next breath, you're going to let your hand just move away from your chest. And if your eyes are closed, you can maybe flutter them open, or if you prefer to keep your eyes closed through the next part of the movement practice, you're more than welcome to do that. We're going to bring our hands together and link the fingers in, heel of the hands in, touching each other, and then just circling around at the wrists. So going a few circles in one direction and then a few circles in the other. And just changing direction every few circles. And then letting that settle, letting the hands come apart, crunching the hands into a fist and spreading the fingers out. Crunching them into a fist and spreading them out. So do that another couple of times. Our hands can get really tight, especially if we're on our phones or devices more than we would like to be. Then we're going to bring our palms together and really press the palms in against each other. And as we're pressing the palms in against each other, let the elbows push out wide. And then keeping those palms pressed together, we're going to start to turn the hands. So maybe have the fingers pointing away out from you. And then starting to turn the palms back in, still pressing the palms in as firmly as you can. Turn the fingers in towards you. And then turning that out. And then turning it back in. And then bringing it back up to the center. Releasing the hands and circle around at the wrists. And then from here, we're going to push the hands out wide. So palms as though you're pushing into the walls at either side of the room. And then think about it as though you're pushing the hands away, but the upper part of your arm, imagine that you're trying to scoop it into the shoulders. So you maybe feel the muscles in the back around the shoulder blades become a little bit more active. The shoulders are pressing down and shoulder blades coming slightly towards each other. We're going to keep that sensation in the back, keep the arms out long, palms pressing out, and start to bring the arms out in front, keeping the shoulder blades apart, and then start to squeeze that back out. Once they come out, we're going to bend at the elbows, so come into cactus position and have your palms facing to the front. This time we're going to think about moving from the breastbone. On an exhale, we start to turn. And then inhale, come back through the center, and exhale, turn towards the other side. Inhale back through the center. So as we're going from one side to the other, we want to try and keep the hips level, keep the weight through the hips level. So notice if your hip starts to lift to try and get more rotation, and just stop before you get to that point. Inhale through the center, exhale round to the other side. Bringing that back to the center. And then let the arms come down. We're going to let one hand come to the floor. So if you need to lean over slightly, lean over. We're going to reach the other arm up and come into a slight side bend here. So trying to reach your fingers across to the other side of the room. Still keeping the back side down on the floor. So really press that down so that we feel the length through the side of the body. Your chest is still pointing forwards. Check you're not holding tension in your jaw or neck, so turn your head maybe a couple of times, wiggle the jaw off. On your next inhale, you want to press yourself back up. Lean over, let the other hand come down. Rest into it. Keep this arm that you're leaning into quite soft. Reach the arm up and then bring it over. And think about trying to reach to the other side of the room. Check in with the jaw, check in with the neck. Now reach those fingers as far as you can. And then press yourself back up and let that arm come down. Roll out the shoulders a couple of times here. We're going to bring the elbows into the waist with the palms up. And then squeezing the shoulder blades back towards each other. Move the hands away from the centre line. So we're opening the chest here. You can let the ribs slightly pop forward here if that feels nice, to create more of an opening space through the front of the body. And then as we bring the arms back in, we're going to drop the chin into the chest and let the spine start to curl. And then we're going to open it back up. So with the breath here, you might want to inhale as you're opening and exhale as you're closing. And do that 2 more times. And if you want to change the breathing pattern and do it the other way around, so maybe exhaling as you open and then inhaling as you come in, just to see which way feels better for you. Make this one your last one. And then bringing yourself back up to a seated position. So from here, we're going to come over to lying on our back. So if you've got a cushion under your backside, pop it off to the side. If you want a cushion for underneath your head, that can sometimes release any pressure that you might be holding in your neck. Just let yourself come down, settle in. Just give yourself a couple of breaths here to really settle into this space. As you're exhaling, notice the body getting a little bit heavier into the floor. Notice across the chest, across the shoulders. If things feel tight across the shoulders and the shoulders feel like they're quite lifted off the floor, moving your arms away from the body can sometimes help that open up and help it release slightly. So try and let the shoulder blades drop back towards the floor. Try and keep your chin slightly tucked in so that the back of the neck stays long. That's where the cushion can sometimes help. Just hold the head and neck in that space. Let your feet just be in a place that feels comfortable for them to be rested into the floor. We're going to bring our attention down to the pelvis, particularly the lower abdominal pelvic floor area. We're going to use the lower abdominals and the pelvic floor muscles to start to tuck the tailbone under and push the lower back into the floor. And then still using those abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor muscles, we're going to start to push the hip bones away to create a little bit of an arch in the back. Scooping the tummy muscles in, using the pelvic floor to flatten the back in towards the spine. And then using those same muscles to start to tilt the pelvis away. Hip bones moving away from the ribs, the lower back, the lifting from the floor. The next time, as you start to flatten the back down into the floor, using the lower abdominals, pelvic floor, we're then going to start to introduce the backside muscles to squeeze in, to start to lift the weight of the pelvis up off the floor. And as the pelvis starts to lift up, you might want to start pressing the shoulder blades and the feet into the floor slightly as we start to lift more of the spine. Now, we're only lifting the spine up as high as feels comfortable. So if you feel really tight or you start to lose that tuck, then just stop at that point. Don't try and push it any higher. And then when you're ready, you can slowly start to place the spine back down on the floor. So as you're placing it down on the floor, think about trying to make it long. And then as you're coming down, the last thing you're going to do is let the pelvis release. Internal lower abdominal muscles, pelvic floor muscles, tuck the tailbone, push the lower back into the floor. Squeeze the backside to start to take the weight of the pelvis as we start to lift the pelvis up. Feet and shoulders lightly pressed down to help us start to lift more of the spine. And only coming up as high as feels comfortable. As you're coming up, your chest should be moving slightly closer to your chin so that we're keeping the length in the spine. So just notice if your chin's trying to lift at the same pace as your hips. When you're ready, just roll yourself all the way down, and we'll do that one more time. So nice and slowly through the movement, starting lower tummy muscles, pelvic floor to tuck the tailbone, backside to support and take the weight of the pelvis as we lift that up. Feet and shoulder blades pressing into the floor as we start to lift the spine. Whenever you're ready, start to place the spine back down on the floor, keeping it long. And whenever you're finished that last movement, just give the body any movement that feels good here. So it might be stretching the body out, it might be hugging the knees into the chest, or you might want to do a little bit of both. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the feet down onto the floor. Take the arms out wide so they're roughly in line with the shoulders with the palms faced up. We're going to let the knees drop all the way over to one side. So let the knees rest there to start with. Notice how this feels, particularly on this top side. How does it feel in the lower back, the hip, the groin area? If there's any tension, any pull in any signals from your body that it's not quite in a comfortable space. Adjust this top leg into whatever position makes it feel more comfortable. So for some of you, it might be bringing the leg over further. For other people, it might be keeping that leg a little bit further back. So have a play around with that for a few breaths and just find where the most comfortable space is for you today. And then when you've got that, you're going to turn your head away from the knees so that you're looking along the length of the arms. So with your eyes on the fingertips, the arm that's furthest away from the knees, we're going to start to lift that up. And your eyes stay following the fingertips as you bring that arm up and over so that the palms land on top of each other. And then you're going to follow that all the way back, the same direction, opening back out. So as we're doing this, your eyes are going to stay focused on the fingertips. This time as you're moving, start to think about leading from the breastbone. The breastbone starts to move, the arm lifts up, and you're following that all the way over. And that's going to help you get a little bit more rotation in through the spine. And then leading from the breastbone again as you start to take it back. Eyes stay focused on those fingertips as you come all the way back to the arms being out wide. We'll do that one more time, leading from the breastbone. Eyes staying on the fingertips. Smoothly bringing it up, making sure you're not holding your breath. And then last time, going back, leading from the breastbone, eyes follow the fingertips. Arms go out wide. And then bring your head back to the centre, bring your knees back to the centre. And then we're going to take those knees over to the other side. So take your time coming into this position. On this side, it might feel totally different. So this top leg might be in a different shape, different position than it was the other side. So really tune in, listen to what's going on here. Adjust anything that needs to be adjusted so that you can feel as comfortable as possible. And then when you're ready, turn to look at the hands away from the knees. And then when you're ready, eyes staying on the fingertips, leading from the breastbone, bringing that arm up all the way over, let the palms land on top of each other. Lead from the breastbone, eyes follow the fingertips all the way back. I'm going to do that another 2 times, and I'll just stay quiet as you're doing this. Really let you focus on the movement. One last time. And then when the arms come back to being out wide, bringing the knees back up into the centre. Keeping the arms out wide, we're going to take the knee drop from side to side a little bit more fluidly. So maybe on an exhale, you let the knees drop towards one side. Inhale, bring it back up through the centre. Exhale, let them drop over to the other side. Inhale it back up and exhale it over. Inhale it up, exhale it over. Now, an option that we're going to invite here is the next time you bring the knees over, maybe you extend the top leg out, like we're doing a slow motion can, bending the knee back in, bringing it up, take it over to the other side. And that option there, only if you want to extend the top leg out, bring it back in, bring it up. So if you want to pace this out with your breath, you could exhale the knees over, inhale the leg extends out, exhale you bend it back, inhale up through the centre. If that breathing pattern doesn't work for you, then do whatever feels comfortable, feels smooth. We'll do that one more time to each side. And then when you've finished your last one, bringing it back to the centre. Walk the feet in towards each other so we can bring the soles of the feet together. As we bring the soles of the feet together, we're going to press the soles of the feet in against each other as we let the knees drop out to the sides. Now, if you're really tight in around the groin area and it feels like your legs are really trembling or shaking, what you can do is grab a couple of cushions and stick them in towards the hip so that your legs get something to rest on. If you're not getting any shaking there, then you can just let your legs freely open, but keep pressing the soles of the feet together so we keep the muscles active. And that's going to allow us to get a release through the muscles without putting pressure on the tendons and ligaments. So just keep the breath nice and smooth here. Anytime it feels too intense, if you don't have cushion handy, you can always bring the knees back up for a moment and then exhale, release back into it. Stay here for 2 more breaths if that feels okay. And then when you're ready, let the knees come back up to the centre. We're going to bring one knee in towards the chest. Bring the hands around the shin. And just hold the weight of the leg as much as you can so that the muscles through the thigh, through the hamstring are as relaxed as they can be. The leg that's still resting into the floor, we're going to slide that foot out along the floor until it's as straight as is comfortable. So if you're really tight across the groin sling here as you extend the leg out, don't force the leg fully straight. If your leg's okay being straightened out, see how it feels to flex at the ankle, so push through the heel as though you're trying to make the leg a little bit longer. See how that feels for a couple of breaths. And then try pointing the toe and see if you can get the leg a little bit longer with the toe pointed and stay there for a couple of breaths. Still trying to keep this leg that's in towards the chest as relaxed as you possibly can. After your next exhale, that leg that's lengthened out, you're going to slide it back in. Let the foot rest into the floor. Bring that leg that's in towards the chest back down and then switch over to the other side. So hug that other knee in towards the chest and let it be as relaxed as you can. And then that foot that's on the floor, slide it away. So if it's tight, you're only going out as far as is comfortable. But if there's no tension in anywhere there, you can straighten the leg out and then try pressing out through the sole of the foot. Push through that heel for a couple of breaths. And then point the toe and push through the toe for a couple of breaths. And then after your exhale, slide that leg all the way back in. And bring the foot back down onto the floor. So we're going to take one leg up, sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. Now if your hamstrings are really tight here, you might want to keep the knees slightly bent, or if you've got a yoga strap or a resistance band or a towel or something that you can hook around your foot to hold some of the weight. Got a resistance band here just to demonstrate. You could hold the weight of your leg in here and that'll help take some of the pressure off the hamstring. Now if it is really tight, you might want to take the leg a little bit lower, let it be straight, and then use the band to help pull it up. That can sometimes let go of some of the tension. So either holding the leg with your band or strap if you've got one, and if you don't, then just let the knee be bent slightly. Try and have the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. And if you need to, you can always put your hands around the back of the thigh. We're going to keep this leg straight. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the other leg when we had the knee in towards the chest. We're going to slide it out along the floor. And just make that leg as straight as you can while still holding this other leg in the same position. So if this other leg's trying to follow the leg on the floor, you're not going to fully straighten it out. You're only going to go out as far as you can still keep this leg in the position it was in. Taking 2 deep breaths in and out here. After your second exhale, the leg that's lengthened out, you're going to slide it all the way back in. This lengthened leg that's up towards the ceiling, you're going to soften through the knee, bring the foot to the floor, lengthen that leg out, and just rock the foot from side to side to try and let the leg relax off, especially around the hip area. I'm going to bend that knee, slide the foot in, other legs coming up, sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. So your hamstring might feel totally different on this side, might be tighter, might be less tight. Again, option for your strap, your resistance band, towel if you want, or having the knee slightly bent, whatever works best for you. Hands into the back of the thigh is also an option. When you're ready, this opposite leg starts to slide away, so you're only sliding it out as far as this other leg is still staying in position. And then we're going to hold that for 2 breaths. And then slide that bottom leg back in. The leg lifts up, soften the knee, lower the leg down towards the floor, straighten the leg out, rock the foot from side to side, trying to loosen off the leg. Maybe extend both legs out, take the arms up overhead, reach the fingers away, reach the toes away. As you're inhaling, trying to get as much length in your body as you can. As you're exhaling, just releasing and letting go. Press through the soles of the feet. Inhale, lengthening it out. And exhaling to release and let go. So we're going to start to move into position for our Shavasana or relaxation. If having the legs out long, you can feel your lower back really lifted from the floor and it's uncomfortable. You could either put a couple of cushions underneath your knees to let the knees be slightly lifted, or bend the knees and have the feet wider than the hips and let the knees rest in against each other. Your hands can be away from the body with the palms faced up, or having one hand on your tummy, one hand on your chest, letting the elbows relax down onto the floor. So whatever feels more comfortable for you here. If you want to put a blanket over you, put any lights off, any candles or music on, anything that's just going to give you that environment, give you that space where you can really rest into this Shavasana, relax into it. We'll take 2 deep breaths in and out, in through the nose, out through the mouth, so that you're sighing the breath out. Really sending signals to the nervous system to let it know that you're in this space of letting go and of relaxing. And then bringing the breath back to a nasal breath. Following the breath as it goes into the body. Following the breath as it leaves the body. Noticing the parts of your body that are in contact with the floor. And throughout our body we have curves. There are no straight lines within our body. So if you've got your knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor, we can start to notice those curves right from the soles of the feet. So we have the toes resting down onto the surface, and then there's a slight lift at the base of the toes as you come towards the ball of the foot. And then for most of us, there's a slight lift through the arches in the midfoot, and then the heel. And if your legs are lengthened out, you'll notice the back of the heel, and then a slight lift at the back of the ankle, and then the calf muscle with a slight lift at the back of the knee, and then the hamstring in the back of the thigh, and then a slight lift as you come to the backside. A slight lift in the lumbar lower back region, and then the spine through the rib cage is in contact with the floor, and then a slight lift at the back of the neck, and then the skull resting into the floor. Bringing your attention back into your breath, following the breath in, following the breath out. And in this practice, it can be useful for you to set a positive intention or goal, something that you wish to achieve or come true in your life. For example, you could do something like, I am calm, or I have clarity, or anything at all that feels relevant to you, something that you really want to be true. And when you have something, repeat it to yourself with feeling and awareness 3 times. And then I also find it useful in this practice to take a moment to give yourself some thanks and gratitude for making the time and the space to do some yoga practice. This time and space that's just for you. And if there's anyone or anything else that you want to send thanks or gratitude out into the universe, you can do that now. And when you're finished sending out your gratitudes, you bring your attention back to your breath. And I'm going to leave you here to stay here for as long as you need, knowing that when you do go back into your day, that this sense of peace and calm that you have cultivated is with you always. And you just need to bring your attention back to your breath at any time you need to tap it back into that energy.